Hey, welcome to the end of January 2021, and here we are with another No Prize podcast. How are you, Lucas?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Professor?
I am doing fantastic. We have lots of stuff to cover. My favorite, my we have finally, after a year and a half, we have some Marvel Cinematic Universe goodness happening on Disney Plus. We have the first two episodes of WandaVision that dropped. And I know we both had a chance to watch it, so we're going to break that down for you, and then we'll start talking about some comics. So, um, tell me, how did it feel after a year and a half being finally able to see something post, I guess, Spider-Man: Homecoming?
Right. So I had to come at it from WandaVision from a couple of different standpoints, right? Number one is how did I feel about it? Hey, for me, it hit home on the whole nostalgia thing. It's giving me that I Dream of Genie, that Bewitched,
Yeah,
that My Three Sons type of feel, right? And that was great for me. But the other point that it would have hit for me is looking forward to what other projects or what other characters it might freaking touch on. It didn't hit yet, but I did love some of the allusions to Agatha Harkness, right? Um, she was in there, and the some of the organizations that everybody knows was already going to be there. Like the Hydra, the SOAR, the AIM. So that was pretty interesting. But here's the problem: if once again I'm sitting, got my wife to the left of me, got my kids to the right, right, and the thing that gave Marvel the bravado to actually try some of these projects is Baby Yoda. Absolutely, right? Forget Endgame and everything, but once Baby Yoda hit, and they were like, okay, so maybe they can't expand it out to more than people just in capes, right? That people know. Let's do this thing with Baby Yoda. My wife, halfway through the first thing, goes, "So, so Vision is a robot?" Like,
oh no.
remember, remember she has rewatched almost all the movies so she can get caught up on what's actually going on on the Marvel universe without having to actually open up a book. And if that is what happened to her, where she's just realizing, excuse me, what's actually happening. Um, and that's the big point that she came across is like, oh, it's not actually a dude, it's a robot. Okay, fine, got it. But then my kids who actually care about this stuff, people in capes and all of this stuff, and they're just you know jumping around and freaking twiddling their thumbs. They're not into the story at all. Right. Um, then who's this for? Right.
Hmm.
Um, no, I get some insinuation that there may be some other stuff happening, but even that stuff that may happen down the line, I don't see them caring about that stuff. So I think they have maybe one more episode to get everybody back on board because after they were done, like it wasn't like usually after a show they're like or any type of Marvel show or Mandalorian show, they're like, "Oh, that's it." After the show, they were like, "Pew!" They just ran off,
Oh
ran,
yeah.
you know, and ran out to do their own thing. So, what about you, Professor?
Yeah, so I watched it with my wife too, and that neither of my kids. My son's going to watch it today, but so that's got your reaction was kind of my wife's reaction too, um, because she's watched all the Marvel movies with me, and she gets kind of the benefit of my just like spewing crap like all day long about the characters. So she knew Vision was a robot, but she also I was I gave her the recap. I was like, let's remember at the end of Avengers Endgame, Scarlet Witch came back from the snap, and that's pretty much all you saw of her. But Vision was dead. Vision died before the snap, so he's still dead. He never came back. So and here, so then I started getting into, so in the comics, this is what happened in House of M, and this is
Yeah.
and this is what happened when she had a break with reality, and then but a lot of the stuff that I saw in the show was great for the fans like me and you, right? Some of the stuff you were like, oh, that's going to come back, or okay, this is kind of taking the track that I kind of thought it might, because we know that this is the kicking off phase 4 of the MCU, where the casual fan might not know that, right?
Right.
And the also casual fan might not know that the ending of this TV show at the end of the whatever 9 episodes that we're getting is going to springboard right into the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness movie coming in. I don't know if it's coming in 2022 or if it's coming this year. But that's tying in heavily. So that's going to be, I think, the whole plot line of the Doctor Strange movie is the basis for this whole show.
Mm.
So I also think that this is big plans. And then I'm speculating here, but I think I've said this before, where Wanda has the ability to manipulate the reality around her, is she's going to create these alternate realities that are going to tie into the Doctor Strange show, or
Right.
she's going to unlock it somehow, and
That makes sense.
that's going to pull Fantastic Four, X-Men, Deadpool, all these properties that didn't exist before in the MCU are all going to come in.
Right.
So that's where I think they're going. But the first 2 episodes really didn't kind of tell you anything about that. We know we know that they think that there's something going on that they're not quite certain of. So Wanda and Vision are really the only characters that know that something's not quite right. Um, and then you get the I think artistically fantastic, right? The black and white, the setup for the 50s, the sitcoms flavor, and then you throw in that little bit of color with the helicopter she found in the second episode,
Yeah.
and the blood when her friend cut her hand there, the blood, the red, and you see that that's the only color until the end of the second episode. That's the only color you see is red, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So to me, a lot of this stuff is really kind of working in um, Wanda's mind, but they're throwing things at you little by little. But I love the fact, they kind of tongue in cheeked a lot of it with, Vision kind of wondering, what do we do here in the in the company, and you realize that in a scripted show you don't have to know that stuff, right? We
Yeah.
don't know exactly what we do, or they did a lot of cute little things. Even the special effects were obviously like the plates on wires and stuff like that, and you knew that was you know kind of a they were going for the cheap special effects.
Hmm.
So I really think it was very well done, very artsy. I think the critics are going to love it, but I think the casual fans, like my wife, your kids, where they're not thinking too hard about where the show's going, are really not on board by the end of the second episode. And when you compare this to Mandalorian, where you say, Grogu at the end of that first episode just sucked everybody in, right? And that was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, so we're on board. I don't know how on board uh, people other than the hardcore fans are. I think they're going to be on board simply because it's Disney Plus and it's like the first new content we've had for Marvel in the last year and a half. So everybody's going to give this a shot, but and I think it's going to get better as it goes, because I think once they start realizing some of the story and Sword, like you said, and Hydra, those commercials are the ones that you have to watch for, because that's where all the plot is.
Yeah.
That
Exactly.
30-second commercial and with the toaster, and then with the Hydra watch, the Strucker watch.
Yeah.
Um, those are where I think you're getting the hints of what's to come. I almost couldn't really figure out the toaster commercial in the first episode. But if you want me to speculate, I think Stark Industries actually has Vision's body, and they're reconstructing him.
Well, that could be it, but I know of another connection, right? So in the current mutant universe, if we're talking about House of M and everything, right?
Sure.
Um, let's not forget that there is a big overall organization that is watching over or trying to move towards the ability to defend themselves against mutants. Um, and that organization uses technology by the Stark Industries, right? And that thing is actually in space. So Sword uses Stark Industries. They're manned by AIM people, and I forget who else is involved as well. So that would be the connection in between 3 out of 4 organizations that I've seen so far. Oh, and Hydra, of course.
Right. Well, so I guess here's a speculation question. Tony's dead, right? After
Hmm.
the end of Endgame. Does Stark Industries become more of a villainous organization like Hydra?
Yeah, right.
You
Yeah,
think so?
yeah.
Okay.
So right, yeah, because remember, Arnold Stark took over for Tony when he was dead and missing. They never really explained what actually happened. So while he's dead or missing, whatever, Arnold Stark's working the whole deal, and I forget the name of the little cat lady that was actually trying to be a robot, whatever. It's a convoluted plot, but while that's happening, they're selling off all of this technology to anybody that wants to come and pay for it.
Okay, so I think for the MCU, you're going to see the directions going there, and I think they'll reveal that little by little as well.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely on board. Like, I mean, I was going to be anyway, no matter how no matter how bad it was. But so let's say, so I'm going to say that it's promising, but I think it's one of those slow burns, and you have to give it several episodes for you to say, because you're going to be able to look back on and then you're going to say, oh, the first and second episodes, oh yeah, that's why they were doing some of that stuff. Because I thought, you know, I thought it was good, but then my wife is like, I don't know if I'm on board with this yet. So,
Right.
it was tough. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of action, and it was definitely geared towards, like you said, I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched. Those are two comedy or sitcoms that are very much out of time. You can't really play those now and expect anybody to sit there and watch it. So
Exactly. The best thing about having any type of baby character is that the baby character gives the audience an opportunity to grow along with it, right? To figure out how the universe type works. They haven't given it
I agree.
this yet, right? They just threw these characters at it. Hey, she's magic, and this guy's an idiot, and that's just the way it is. Uh, yeah. I-
He is kind of an idiot in the show.
yeah, yeah. One of the most intelligent freaking sentient freaking beings in the Marvel universe, and he starts out as an idiot. So,
He's
my goodness.
taken out by a piece of gum.
Yeah, exactly. This is this this is a guy that was at least throwing bows with freaking Thanos for a second. Now he's ungum done. Freaking he can't. Oh my goodness. Well.
Hey, you know what? We'll review. We'll probably review episodes 3 and 4 next time, and we'll be we'll be able to tell you whether or not it's picking up. So, uh, I of course you're watching a Marvel podcast, so go check it out. It's something. After a year and a half, I'd watch anything right now. So,
Right.
well,
Yeah, I mean, what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to rewatch it over and over again, slow it down, take some notes and everything. But
I caught an Easter egg. I didn't catch all of them, but there are several if you watch the show. The opening for the second episode, which was a throwback to the Bewitched opening, the animated type opening, when Wanda is in the grocery store for like 5 seconds when they were introducing the characters. On the back there was a poster that said Bova milk, and Bova is the cow lady that was their nanny when they were supposedly the High Evolutionary, and this is in the comics. But the High Evolutionary took Wanda and Pietro in when they were little, and
Mm.
and they were raised by a talking cow. So that's Bova, but in the back it said Bova milk, and
Uh,
that's the only Easter egg I saw. So I'm sure there's others in there, and if you watch the animated opening of the second episode, if anybody can find anything else, let us know.
yeah.
But that's the one I saw. So maybe we might get into High Evolutionary, and I mean that would be kind of ambitious for them in an 8 episode series to kind of explain away the High Evolutionary. Um, but I've seen crazier things, so we'll see.
All right. All right.
All right, so and we're gonna kind of dive into the High Republic a little bit, and that's kind of like a good segue because we have a High Republic TV show coming next year on Disney Plus. With you know, honestly, I have no idea what the High Republic is about. I know it's uh, pre episode one, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Hmm.
like the New Republic. Well, not the New Republic, the Old Republic, right? And yeah, I'm gonna let you kind of take this over because there's so much Star Wars knowledge in this that the new expanded universe stuff, and I'm still trying to catch up on Clone Wars and Rebels that I never thought that I was gonna have to watch until I saw season 2 of Mandalorian. So
Yeah. Yeah. So this High Republic, it is pre Phantom Menace, pre Attack of the Clones, Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith, pre all of that. Um, this the reason why I wanted to highlight this book, and once again, we're nowhere a little late, is because my goodness, this has been a titan of a book, and it still continues to be a titan of a book. It's one of those books that started out at 3.99, and if you were able to grab it and you wanted to flip it, it's still. I mean, you can flip it for at least $20. That's it, right?
can
Or
I
if
jump in on this right before it is? Can
yeah,
you
go ahead.
tell me, are these characters all the characters that are going to be on the show, or is this unrelated to the upcoming show?
Uh, I'm not sure yet, right?
Okay.
I would think that that's one. These are the ones that are going to be in the show because even the book that's coming out has got these characters in them.
Okay.
Um, so hopefully they wouldn't screw everybody over and decide to go with some other characters, unless the characters are like really bad or something. But who knows? But yeah, the let's go. So the writer is Kevin Scott, artist Ariel Anandito. Mark Morales did the ink. Colors was Annalise Leone, and letters VC Ariana Maher, and cover artist Phil Noto. So once again, yeah, before this was like before what we really know, and there's a huge gap in between what was going on with the Phantom Menace. So it looks like this is the book that they're trying to fill everybody in with what's going on because um, I even took a step back this week to go over the Clone Wars again to watch that cartoon TV series and was like, okay, they're talking about stuff that happened off screen, off somewhere. Um, and maybe I think this series is supposed to fill some of that gap in that set up that whole big. Hey, how did the Jedi not know this was happening? How did the Jedi not know this was happening? Um, in and everybody and every star system thinks the Jedi is corrupt. How did that happen? So I think that's what's going to happen in this book. Um, let's not we can judge what's going on with the storyline of what happened in this book because is a lot of setup in this book, right? We get introduced to the main character and the other little weird characters around her. Um, and it's this new young Jedi knight and everything she's been going through the training, everything, and which but we get to her at the end of the training, So I don't understand that, right? So for instance, my kids, once again, I'm going to go off what my kids love. My kids love Asako Tano, right?
Mhm.
And the reason why they love Asako Tano is because they got to go along that journey, and this is from excuse me, the Clone Wars. They got to go along with her journey as a Padawan to her becoming a Jedi, right? They were there with the training, her going along missions, right? All that great stuff. Here with this particular Jedi, we're just here on her very last day, her examination, and that's it. Poof. Now she's a full blown Jedi. You can do that. You gotta let us develop. Let me actually care about this character. And they didn't let us do that. But nonetheless, um, they're rushing it because they know they got big stuff happening for this character. And I guess that's okay. Um, the it's I can only say right now is that there is a bunch of characters in there, and hopefully they pan out. I know I've already seen some of the stuff that's supposed to be happening in part two of this. There's even more characters in there, and once again, this is the Marvel Star Wars High Republic. That's very important that people understand that this is the Marvel Star Wars High Republic, because IDW actually has a Star Wars High Republic Adventures, right?
Oh,
Uh, yeah, I think that one's coming out maybe next week or something like that. And
different characters.
different characters, but inside the same universe. And what's supposed to happen is these two books are going to have storylines that are separate, but then at some point are supposed to converge into just one big book. Um, but I gotta say, man, this thing freaking dragged. I, this freaking dragged. I didn't care. I mean, literally, you had the character hanging by a cliff, and I really didn't care. I really didn't clear. I really didn't care. I like the fact that she was at that point where she had to make a decision on, hey, I could either go and do this, or I can fail my trial, and that's cool. But it was like, okay, she made the decision. Now I don't care anymore because I don't know who this person is. I don't know whether this person was good from the beginning or a bad person, or whether she's just, a ambitious person, or just one of those really weird, like, hey, I just got to do what I'm feeling right now. So they needed to give me a little bit more of this character before they went off of this whole tantrum on this character. Um but once again, um regardless of what I feel right now, this was the big book and has been a big book for the last couple weeks. If you find it out in a while for cover price, grab that book. um
Really?
Yeah, grab it. It doesn't matter whether it's the A, B, or C cover. Grab it. If you see it just stand on the shelves, grab it. If you see 10 to 20, grab all of them. Grab every single freaking copy.
So what are those? There's 20 different covers.
There's there was at least four. So there was the regular cover that's there, and then there's this actually the Anandito cover. Let me pull this up. There's the Anandino cover, and then there was a Stephanie Hans cover, which I don't have anymore, which I don't have in front of me. And then here's the Sway cover, which was a 1 in 25, and that's excuse me, that was actually almost going for $100, but
Wow.
now it's slowing down and is back down to $50, which at twice the ratio is still pretty good money.
So this is a book that is benefiting from all the good stuff happening on Disney Plus with
Yes.
Mandalorian, and it's like almost like a Star Wars renaissance, right? With all these shows coming out, and actually High Republic coming out as a show. So I think a lot of the speculators are thinking that these are the characters that are going to be in the show, and
Yep.
this is their first appearance, right?
Yep.
Their
Hmm.
first appearance is going to be in this book, so pick it up. And as far as how I thought of this book, you're right, it dragged. Um, I find myself comparing the Star Wars High Republic book to all the other Star Wars comics on the shelves right now, where we have like 5 or 6 different Star Wars titles. So on a shelf, the shelf space in your local comic shop, there's probably not a lot of room for the Star Wars stuff. But I think High Republic was one of the muddier books, I thought, because I think Darth Vader is excellent. Um, I think the core Star Wars book is not bad, but then the Doctor Aphra book I think is terrible right now. But the previous series of Doctor Aphra, you should go out and get that if you can read the last series was really really good. And Bounty Hunters is take it or leave it. I think there are some people that like that book and some people that hate it, but for the and I don't know if there's any other Star Wars books I'm missing, but those are the ones that I read. So
Vader's
uh,
Castle.
I actually I really 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 like the Vader book, and it is just interesting because it's generally a quick read because he doesn't talk that much. It's just him kicking ass. It reminds me of old issues of the Punisher, where the Punisher just shows up to kill some drug dealers. End of issue. So that's pretty much what Vader is, and I like it. It's kind of a throwback.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
All right, so let's take a quick break. Make sure you check out some of the other podcasts on Undercover Capes. But this is an ad for our friend Bob O'Mac and Crisis in the Terrorverse, and we'll be back in a sec. What the heck was that? If there's I'm going to shut out Josh right now because I haven't seen that ad yet. And that ad, if nobody wants to go watch Crisis on the Toyverse right now, that you got something wrong with you. That looks amazing.
In the meantime, our trailer got me with my goofy looking picture still. Josh, come on, man. Killing me here, brother.
He's working on an update for our intro, so that's good. But that is just awesome. Oh man, Crisis in the Toyverse. Go check it out, Bob O'Mac. All right, so let's get back into some comics this week. We do have some Marvels to talk about. It was kind of a light week, but let's jump into Hulk because I'm kind of curious about what you're thinking about it. But I'm going to go through it real quick. It's well, I mean, this is issue 42 of this run from Al Ewing, and it's really kind of gearing up towards the climax because I believe that this book is coming to an end with issue 50. I think I heard that quite a while ago. This book, I'm not going to say it suffers from the kind of group of artists in this, because honestly, I didn't really know that there was like 4 different artists on this book. It kind of was kind of tied it all together. I think with the inking and everything, but we have Al Ewing writing, and I'm going to go through this. So we have Alex Linz on the leader sequence. We have Adam Gorham on the Gamma Flight sequence. We have Rachel Stott on the Jackie McGee sequence, and we have Joe Bennett on the UFO sequence. And it's different colors. We have Chris O'Halloran on colors for the leader, and Jackie in Game of Flight, and Jackie McGee and Paul Mounts on colors for the UFO sequence. So this is very much a team effort on this book, and I think it's a shout out to the art team for like fooling me until I got to the end. That's one of the things is in Hulk they run the credits at the end of the issue, and they jump you into the action right away. We also have VC's Corey Pettit as a letterer, and Alex Ross always on the covers on this Hulk series, and he's been amazing on all
Yeah,
42 issues.
absolutely.
So I'm going to jump right into my big problem with this book. Is that it's a Hulk book that doesn't have the Hulk in it. And I think this issue is done to ramp up towards the end of the series. So you have, I mean, Banner's in this issue, but he's captured by the leader. So you don't get Hulk in this issue. You get Banner. It was like, well, half of Banner anyway, right, from the
Yeah.
torso up,
Mhm.
in a really horrifying predicament he's in. Um, and the big story about this really is the art, right? Because throughout Bennett has been keeping this book as like I think it's very psychological horror, and it kind of it's almost nightmarish in a lot of the depictions that they've done. This issue's no exception, especially with the whether you see Banner, who's just his arms are gone and there's like gigantic tentacles everywhere, and he's from the torso down. He's just this massive goo, and he's got tentacles going into his eyeballs, and for me, it's just like really kind of psychologically horrifying to see that. But that builds into the leader and Brian Banner, and then the one down below, and all that we've been kind of talking about throughout this series. And I know that you had been juxtaposing Null across this, even though Null doesn't make an appearance in this. I think that's more striking than ever, especially in this issue, that they really tie in um, the the one from below, um, and how at the end of this issue he takes over the leader. Very much, it was very much reminiscent of a symbiote.
Yeah.
So that when I read that, I was like, "Man, are you telling me Lucas was right all this time?" And I was really it kind of shocked me a little bit. So kudos to you for that, because I mean that's something we've been talking about, but it's just like I didn't want to think that this was like that Al Ewing and that they would just kind of like really kind of tightly tying this into what's going on everywhere else. Um, I loved the Gamma flight sequences. You have kind of bringing back some characters we haven't seen in a while with Puck and Titania, and we have Doc Samson in the Sasquatch body. He's green
Yeah.
and in Gamma E now.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that I mean, that they're heading for a confrontation with Hulk towards the end here, or maybe they're coming to his rescue. I don't know. Um,
Right.
they did some kind of foreshadowing with McGee, where I believe that she might become a gamma powered creature soon. I don't
Yes.
know if that's
Right. That's yeah. So that's another big one that I've been talking about forever. On every other speculation, I would say, hey, you might want to go back and get Immortal Hulk #1. You might want to get Immortal Hulk #1 because that was her first appearance.
yeah.
And then I forget what it was. Maybe it was like #9 or #10. I forget which one it was. She actually visits the dimension of the below all,
Yes.
and then she comes back. So we all know that when somebody goes there and comes back, they become a gamma powered individual. And so I've been telling people that, and then here it is. It, it came true. That's what happened. So, because even the way they had it just positioned and they brought it about, talked about her, she was like, "I want to be you. I just want to be you. I just want to be angry without people saying, "Oh, I'm just an angry black woman." Right. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they foreshadowed that like like a boss, you know. So I don't understand how people aren't. And what's even more amazing to me is people really aren't hype about it. They're not talking about this right now. So that's the other weird thing about this right now. But yeah, Good stuff.
Well, this is, I guess that's one of the questions we have with like, so now we have almost what we would call, I guess I would call in the days of 2021, 2020 collected Marvel Comics, you get a 42 issue run or a perspective 50 issue run. This is kind of an old school book now. We don't see books now with in their high double digits, and before they relaunch with another creative team. So, do you think that it might be reader fatigue, or people kind of getting tired with the story? Because for me, I'm loving this every month, and I kind of really love the slow unveiling of the storyline. He's Al Ewing has been keeping this book so fresh and interesting to me in in horrifying, which I think since issue one, this book has been a horror book more than a superhero book, and I think it's like nothing else on the stands, and it's been the most consistently good Marvel book for the last almost 3 years now. So I don't know if it's reader fatigue that people are getting tired of this, um, but I think that this book is the thing Marvel's putting out right now, and I don't want it to end. Um, I know it's gotta end at some point, but I don't want it to. And
Yeah,
what did you think about them bringing back the UFOs? So I was saying this is a horror book, and now we're gonna end
get the
this with
UFOs back.
the UFOs, and it's turning back into a superhero book. you know,
Yeah,
because we're gonna
yeah,
have
unfortunately.
the Hulk is gonna have to smash the UFOs, um, who is probably one of the more recognizable Hulk villains, right? The
Right.
kind of like the horrifying Fantastic Four type. Uh,
Right. So it'll be interesting, right? Because now that they're not afraid to use David Banner, right? So David Banner, he's crying in the corner right now, right? But all these other personalities are coming to light, right? So let's have the Hulk go against him, but bring out one of the other personalities, right? The crazy personalities, the personalities that's not worried about saving human life, right? The one that doesn't just want to Hulk smash, that wants to do Hulk rip and just rip your freaking intestines out of you. That's what I want to see. I want to see that type of abandonment. You know, if you're gonna bring back all these other characters, like the leader, we're seeing how much of a disaster that's happening, and it's crazy because right now, the leader is the one below all right now, right?
right.
He tried to become the one below all. Well, guess what, buddy? You got it now, but not on your own terms. So that's going to be interesting to see going forward, and to see this whole thing with the UFOs going forward. I want to see it. I want to see them bring the Hulk back out of that one below all dimension, and I want to see him just rip every single one of these guys apart. I can't wait.
You think in the end of this run is going to be like a 4 issue just Hulk smash climax?
Hulk rip.
Hulk,
He's going to be ripping throats out. He's going to be ripping intestines out. And what's going to be even more interesting is there's a reason why the leader hasn't necessarily killed off Banner yet, right? He's been holding him still, and I'm wondering, is it because he wants to take over his body? Is it that he wants to use his body as something to get through the green door again? And when he does it, is the leader going to be the boss, the big boss over the Hulk's body? Because if that's going to happen, look out. That's going to be crazy. That's going to be insane. So that's what I want to see. What's going to happen?
if depending. So I mean, look, we got like 8 issues left in this run before we're thinking about them repackaging Hulk again. But when you're thinking about the past 42 issues, do you think Al Ewing and Bennett's run goes down in, I would say, the annals of Marvel history as one of the stronger Hulk runs and maybe one of the stronger creative runs?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's even crazier because they've gone back into his past, right? All those past Hulk issues, and they said, "Hey, this is the proper context of what happened back then and how it affects him now." This is why he can't just shake the leader off right now, because this is the stuff that happened with his father and his mother and him in his career that makes him hold it in the corner right now. That is
Mhm.
beautiful. I love it. Um, there's all those little moments that it happened to you and you shrug it off, but at the wrong time, that trauma could come back and we can just freeze you in that moment. And I absolutely agree. This is the best Immortal Hulk run I've ever read. And what's even crazier is because Al Ewing is the overall writer, he's trying to connect that stuff to all the other stuff he's writing, whether it be Guardians of the Galaxy is another stuff one he's writing. He's been writing some of the Venom stuff. He's been writing some of the comics Ghost Rider stuff every once in a while. So he's connecting all that stuff slowly but surely and getting the mechanisms going for everybody. You just got to connect the dots.
Yep. This is going to go in, I think. So we're going to have like this 50 issue run. Some of the issues, some of the issues are hit or miss, but overall, for the overall story, it's going to be people are going to talk about Ewing's run on Hulk like they talk about Miller's run on Daredevil, or I mean, that's the only one I'm coming up with. Simonson's Thor. That's going to be Ewing's legacy, I think. And as much as I loved him on Avengers and some of the other stuff that he's done, I really think that this is the strongest work that he's put together, and he really can't do any wrong as far as I'm concerned. And I think we might have even talked about him being like writer of the year last year. Um, just to have the most consistent and excellence. So I love this book. I can't flame it on enough. The 2021 will go down as the end of the Immortal Hulk, and I and that's going to stink for me because I think that no matter what comes next, they have big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, we have to look forward to the Immortal She-Hulk. Look how to look forward to how that's going to go down. Jackie McGee, that's another character. We get to see how that's going to affect her. Don't forget, there's a little girl running around right now with the powers of the Hulk. Right now, even though she doesn't become the Hulk, she runs around with the powers of the Hulk, and all these other Gamma characters. So let's see what happens with the people of the Green Door.
all right, yeah, this is my adrenaline's pumping for that book, so we'll we'll see what happens, and I actually look forward to when we wrap up this series later on this year. All right, let's jump into our final review of the day, and it's Chris Claremont's anniversary special. And so, tell me, Lucas, what anniversary are we celebrating?
I you know what? That's a good question. I don't know, and I really don't care what the anniversary was.
I'll
Uh,
tell
uh,
I'll
uh,
tell you. I'll tell you from what I've read, because I did some research, and not that I had to do much, because you know Chris Claremont's first issue of anything really was an issue of, I think it wasn't Iron Fist. It was a throwaway script, but it was 1973. So I'm sitting there going, is it 50? Is it his 50th anniversary with Marvel? And then I looked and I was like, no, it's, it's not. That's not till, I mean, 1973 was his first published book. And I was like, what the heck? So then I looked back and I read it. I read what Sobalski had put out, and he says celebrating 5 decades of Chris Claremont at Marvel. So,
mm,
he's not counting 50 years because it's really only 48. But I guess they really kind of wanted to put this Claremont book out. Um, even though Chris Claremont's work with Marvel has been very sporadic over the last 20 years, right? I mean, he's written a few things, but he's not been, I mean, they haven't given him an actual limited series to write or anything. I think the last thing he wrote was like a Nightcrawler limited series like several years ago. Um, so why don't walk us through this? Because I mean, this is him writing with kind of a hodgepodge group of artists. Some of them that he's worked with, and some of them that he hasn't. Um, So why don't you just why don't you take us through this, and then we'll kind of tear it apart.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I don't. Well, okay, tear it apart. We're gonna tear it apart. All right, go ahead.
Written by Clarence Claremont, and some of my favorite pencilers that are out there. Bill Sienkiewicz. You can't go wrong with Bill Sienkiewicz. Sean
Unless,
Shin.
unless you're mispronouncing his name.
Hey, I'm from South Philly, man. So South Philly, that's how we pronounce those old Yiddish Jewish names.
if
Sienkiewicz.
if you follow him on Twitter, he actually spells out his last name phonetically for you on his Twitter handle. It's sin dash kev dash itch. So it's Bill Sienkiewicz. So
Okay.
it is kind of funny because like everybody messes up his name, and I love that he puts it in his Twitter handle.
Well, no, I'm not going to piss somebody off by telling somebody to go down to the courthouse or anything like that. But hey, um, the Sean Shin, Diego Artequi, and Brett Booth, Mark Deering, Robert Pogge, and Adelso Corden. Colorists as Chris Sotomayor, Rachel Rosenberg, Eric Arsenega, and Guru FX, and your lettering done by Tom Archowowski. Great art. I mean, great art. Let me just put that out. Just great art all around. I loved all of the art. It was really great. Great. The lettering was just a little too much, but I'll let it pass because there was a lot of freaking panels in here. There was a lot of stuff that they had to get in. Um, and that's fine. I mean, the book wasn't that expensive, so and I get it. But hey, I'm old. Freaking let I need to let it spread out. I can't have it too small, man. But this book was about Moonstar, right? Moonstar and Hela, right?
Yep.
Um, Moonstar was been selected by Hela to be one of the new Valkyries, or she was actually saying, "Hey, because you're riding this horse, right, which is one of the horses of the Valkyries, that means you have been selected as a new Valkyrie." And they're taking her through all these kind of snippets of her life and other people's lives, and the pain and all that other stuff, and just carrying through that. And I didn't really get the feeling of why she had to go all through that, but no, they pushed her through all that. It's kind of like her trial. And at the end, she goes, "Okay, now I accept. I am going to be a Valkyrie, right? But not just a Valkyrie, but she's going to be the champion of life." Which to me is like all of a sudden, like, okay, where's this coming from? I wasn't expecting this. Like some of the other characters I've been expecting Marvel to announce, but hey, here we are. Moonstar is champion of life. I don't really know what that means, but okay, fine, here we are. Um, and this is another one that just for a little bit, it jumped in price, but now it's back down because people are like, okay, people got
Because they read it.
yeah, they read it and they read it and they came back to their senses and it's like, okay, no, we really don't care. How many Valkyries have we had right now? Right?
Hmm.
We had too many Valkyries right now.
We had another Valkyrie issue just this week with King in Black, right? The return
Yeah,
of the Valkyrie. Okay.
right. We got too many right now. People really don't care unless you start telling me, hey, Valkyries is going to be a big thing. You're going to have a whole bunch of TV shows and episodes with Valkyries, and they're going to be playing an even bigger role in the Marvel universe. People don't care right now, so I don't know what they're thinking. So don't let what I'm saying about that tear you away from the fact that I did like this issue. Um, Once again, I liked the art. I liked what they were trying to do with this issue, showing the little snippets. I liked all that stuff. It's just that for my speculators out there that love listening to me talk about that stuff, if you can find it cheap, go ahead and pick it up. But don't think this is going to be a big book to flip. What did you think, Professor?
Yeah. So let me preface this by saying I love Chris Claremont. His run on Uncanny X-Men, 17-year epic run is never ever going to be matched ever in comics. Just the creative flow that came out of him consistently for that amount of time was just amazing. Um, but here, I think there's so many people that kind of fall in love with what you did before that you kind of live off that, right? And I think that they obviously they threw in this because Sobalski's a huge Claremont fan, um, and I'm sure Claremont wasn't doing anything. But this book is really kind of it smacks of um, maybe a little bit of arrogance to me, just because he used every character that is used in this book was was a Claremont creation, which it was intentional, but I think a lot of people would be confused about the including the Fantastic Four in here. Um, he did have a short run on Fantastic Four after his run on X-Men. They put him on Fantastic Four for a year or two, and he actually created Valeria Richards, which is one of the Fantastic Four's Reed and Sue's daughter. So that's the only reason that this story has Valeria or the Fantastic Four in it at all. But he also created Binary. That's Carol. That's actually Captain Marvel,
Hmm.
Carol Danvers, and then you have Young Storm. When she went through the Siege Perilous back in the late '80s, and that was when Gambit first appeared. So and he created Gambit, and obviously created the New Mutants and Danny Moonstar. So to me, it was really kind of how does he tie in a lot of these characters into a readable story? And I kind of think that it was a bit of a failure. Uh, I, I thought it was disjointed. I didn't think that the issue really flowed. I think you said it yourself. Who cares about Moonstar? Like what, you know? So having her as your protagonist, I would have much rather liked to see the main character be Ilyana or Magic. Because he created Magic too, but the rest of the New Mutants aren't even in this book, and he created all of them, right?
Hmm.
So I would have much rather have uh, seen him tie her in to all these characters. You get the Star Jammers in here a little bit.
Yeah.
He created all of them. So he was throwing a lot at you in 30 pages, and that was, I think, one of the glaring errors is you don't tell Claremont, write me a story in 30 pages and make it make sense. Um, the lettering, I thought the lettering was great. The lettering is the great Tom Orzechowski, who lettered the entire Claremont run for Uncanny X-Men. He's like Claremont's personal letterer. He
Uh,
writes he letters everything Claremont does, and all of the different fonts that Orzechowski uses very reminiscent of his X-Men run. So that was one of the things. That was one of the good things that I liked about this book. Bill Sienkiewicz is a talent. I mean, he's a legend, and I try not to throw out legend too much, but Bill Sienkiewicz is a legend when it comes to his history on New Mutants. So seeing him here was great. And then I don't know if he's ever worked with Brett Booth. Did he work? I'm trying to remember. I don't think he did, but I liked his art. I love his Gambit. But the big bad guy in this book is the Shadow King, which
yeah.
Claremont created.
Mm.
Um, he didn't create Hela, but I mean, she does tie into the whole Valkyrie storyline. Um, I think the story was disjointed, very difficult to follow. I had to read it twice to really kind of understand what happened. I still, when she was jumping through time and space, I'd still like I don't know why the Shadow King decided that he wanted to take over, you know, put her in there with the Fantastic Four. I don't know why she jumped over to the space to the Starjammers. I don't know why Shadow King was jumped over to. Well, the Storm makes sense because Shadow King has come up against Storm before, but never against any of the other characters. So to me, it was a little confusing. I'm not going to clobber this book because I do love Chris Claremont.
Right.
I think if there's anybody that that was deserving of an anniversary special or an unexplained anniversary special.
Yeah. I mean, it is what the title says. It is a Chris Claremont anniversary special. It didn't say it was a story. It just yeah.
Which, and just have we ever seen Stan Lee's name up in lights on a comic? Oh.
No. Have we? I don't know. I mean,
I'm laughing because it's like who you name it. You ever see Frank Miller's name on the title of a comic, or it just it's funny to me. And I've talked to Chris Claremont before on our podcast, and it is just funny that you put Chris Claremont on the cover of a book, and it's not like X-Men or it's not like Avengers or anything. It's Chris Claremont. Expected to see Chris Claremont with a cape and boots and stuff flying around saving people, but that's to me it did. Well, I told you I think it smacks a little bit of arrogance, but hey, if you're Chris Claremont, you do you, man. You do you. So
I would like to see more of this, right? So if we can give the individual writers like, hey, this is the Dining Cates, or hey, this is the whatever special. You grab
yeah,
all the characters that you've ever messed around with before, and you get to write a story. Now go.
yeah.
That,
Who do I have a Don McGregor anniversary special and have a Black Panther? Or
mhm.
you have like a Steve Englehart anniversary special with the Avengers and may bring back so Guardians of the Galaxy have Star Lord and Mantis in it. You could do this. You could do it. You
Yeah,
know, I
I would love that.
Sobalski, make it happen. Let us celebrate the creators, the long term Marvel creators that everybody loves. I mean, we can't go to a convention and meet these guys anymore until COVID's over. So celebrate these guys. Have them write a story. Friggin' pay them. You know, you're talking to Don McGregor makes $14 a page back in 1973 for the great work he did on Black Panther. You know,
Jeez.
and now you live off of that, but throw them a
Ugh,
bone.
ugh.
They're not doing anything.
Yeah.
We know they're not doing anything. uh,
I
you know
forget who was it that we had on the last virtual con,
yeah,
and is
Steve
this
Englehart. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
He says, yeah, I'm retired now. I was like, oh, okay. What are you doing in your retirement? He was like, well, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I start drawing and I start writing. Like, what?
yeah. Gets up and writes. That's all.
Yo,
So I do the same thing I did when I was working. So
yeah. He says he's retired, but he's working on 3 projects right now. Like, man, you're telling me, man.
yeah.
You're telling me.
Yeah, same thing with Tom DeFalco. We talked to both of them on our virtual con. They're both retired, but they're both still working. So what are you gonna
Go to sleep.
do? Hey, there's no they don't they're all gig for hire, man. It's not like they had a retirement plan. So you know
Yeah,
unless they were smart with their money when they were making it.
which probably was not a thing. It was not like you could just go online and
Nope,
if you could look up stocks like you can now.
nope. Still, even talk to the creators today. None of them are making enough money. I mean, unless your name's Todd McFarlane, nobody's making enough money to live on. But
Yeah,
anyway, that's another idea for maybe another whole podcast. We could talk about creators and you know paying them what they're worth.
absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of No Prize Podcast. Did you flame on Chris Claremont?
I
Or
liked it.
you?
I
All
liked
right,
it. I
all right.
mean, I absolutely noticed all the technical stuff, the technical difficulties that you pulled out. But you know what? I'm like, you know what? This is a Chris Claremont joint. They threw a lot of stuff at me. They didn't go crazy with the price. It was only like $4.99. And they threw me at some good stuff.
Yeah,
And and they actually gave me a newish type look on Danny Moonstar. Once again, I still don't care about her right now, but hey, you know what? They gave her a nice kind of look. But so yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'll flame this one for right now.
All right, and it was a bit of a stretch for me. I think we both flamed on Hulk. So, all right, go check that book out. We will see you again in another couple of weeks. We will have more Marvel goodness for you, and then we know that getting into 2021, it's going to be hot and heavy. So we will see you in a couple of weeks, and stay tuned and stay safe. All right, and outro. All right, that's good.